History remembers kings, artists, and legends, but sometimes history remembers an object. One glove, one legend. Welcome to Nolvère. Every icon has a story. This is one of them. Fame usually belongs to people, but every once in a while, an object becomes so inseparable from its owner that seeing it is enough to remember a name. For Charlie Chaplin, it was a bowler hat and a walking cane. For Elvis Presley, a white jumpsuit. For Michael Jackson, a single white glove. Today, that glove is one of the most recognizable objects in modern history. Millions of people can identify it without a logo, without a signature, without even seeing the man who wore it. But that raises a fascinating question. How can something so ordinary become so unforgettable? Was it carefully designed to become a symbol? Or did history create the legend by accident? To answer that, we have to go back to a time before the moonwalk, before Thriller, before the world called him the king of pop. Back to 1980, fade into archival footage, Los Angeles. The year was 1980. Michael Jackson was no longer the child prodigy of the Jackson 5. His album Off the Wall had turned him into one of the brightest stars in American music. Critics praised him, fans adored him, and the music industry knew a new kind of star was beginning to rise. But what separated Michael from many artists of his time was not just his voice, not just his dancing, not just his talent. Michael was obsessed with details. For him, nothing was too small to matter. A movement, a light, a silence, a gesture, a piece of clothing, everything could become part of the performance. Because Michael did not simply make songs, he created experiences. Years later, the world would remember him through many things: the fedora, the white socks, the military jackets, the moonwalk. But among all of them, one symbol would become the most enduring, a symbol that, with a single glance, could make millions of people think of one name. But at that time, that symbol did not exist yet. Around those same years, Michael and his brothers came together again. They were preparing to make a music video for Can You Feel It? Another working day, another film studio, and a day no one could have imagined would later become part of pop music history. According to a story later told by someone close to Michael, he was visiting the production process when he walked into the editing room. A man was sitting at the table. On one of his hands, he was wearing something, not for fashion, not for performance, not to attract attention, only to protect the film negatives. Michael stared at it for a few moments, as if something had sparked in his mind. A few seconds passed, and then his eyes stayed fixed on it. A white glove. That same person later said he suddenly became fascinated by that glove. Was the idea for the most famous glove in history truly born in that moment? No one knows for certain, but almost every version of the story agrees on one thing. That image never left Michael's mind. No one in that room could have guessed that this brief moment would become the beginning of a legend. But an idea alone wasn't enough to become something unforgettable. It had to come to life on stage. Around that time, Michael's collaboration with costume designer Bill Whitten grew even stronger. Bill didn't simply design clothes. He designed for the stage. Together they kept refining the idea, testing it, changing it, perfecting it. Gradually, the glove became part of Michael's performance, but its defining moment had not yet arrived. Two years later, March 25th, 1983, Motown 25. When Michael Jackson's name was announced, the audience erupted. He walked onto the stage, and this time, one thing was different from every performance before. A glove, no longer the simple glove from years before. Hundreds of crystals had been attached by hand, not for luxury, but for one purpose: to turn light into part of the performance with even the slightest movement. When the spotlight found the glove, every eye followed it. A few minutes later, Michael performed the moonwalk, and the history of popular music changed forever. Most people remember that night for the moonwalk. But watch the performance again, and you'll notice something else. Your eyes keep returning to the same hand, not by accident, exactly as it was designed. After Motown 25, the glove was everywhere, in stores, at costume parties, in street performances, and on stages. Over the years, that new versions continued to appear, each preserving the same unmistakable identity. Sometimes, a single white glove was enough. Years later, gloves worn by Michael were sold at some of the world's most prestigious auctions for hundreds of thousands of dollars, not because of the fabric, but because of the story they carried. Yet the story of the glove wasn't over. As time went on, the glove took on another meaning. By the mid-1980s, Michael Jackson had developed vitiligo, a condition that gradually causes the skin to lose its natural pigment. Years later, people close to Michael suggested that the glove may also have helped conceal those changes. But the truth is, no one knows for certain what its original purpose really was. Perhaps it all began with a brief moment inside an editing room, or perhaps Bill Whitten turned that idea into one of the most recognizable visual signatures in entertainment history. Or maybe it was time itself that gave that glove a meaning that no one could have imagined on the day it was first worn. Sometimes history hides inside the simplest objects. If you enjoyed this story, liking this video and subscribing to Nolvère helps us bring more stories behind the world's most iconic objects to life. Now, I'd love to hear from you. When you think of Michael Jackson, what is the very first symbol that comes to mind? Thank you for watching. Until the next icon.